Travel experts are sounding the alarm about a significant drop in international visitors to the U.S.
International spending here in the United States is expected to plunge by nearly 7% this year.
There's a new kind of silence echoing across America's airports, a silence born from abandonment, not efficiency. Portland's international traffic has collapsed by 73%, airlines fleeing north to Vancouver, while Phoenix and Seattle see up to 69% of their overseas passengers vanish. Meanwhile, 15 ultra-modern hubs from Dubai to Istanbul surge ahead, drawing travelers, airlines, and prestige away from U.S. soil. The world's gateways are shifting, but why has the front door to America slammed shut so suddenly? And what are the hidden costs when an entire nation's airports go empty? Portland International Airport, once a showcase for the Pacific Northwest's eco-conscious spirit and easygoing charm, now sits in a state of uneasy quiet. The numbers are stark. International traffic has plunged by 73%, a collapse so severe that entire concourses have been shuttered, some indefinitely, others for good. The hum of arriving flights has faded. Instead, the departures board flickers with gaps where London, Frankfurt, and Copenhagen once promised connections to the world. Lufthansa, British Airways, and Scandinavian Airlines have all pulled out, shifting their entire operations north to Vancouver. For Portland, this isn't just a loss of flights, it's a loss of identity. The ripple spreads beyond empty terminals. Cargo operations, vital for Oregon's exports, have quietly rerouted through Seattle and Vancouver. What used to be a steady flow of goods, fresh produce, tech components, artisanal products, now detours hundreds of miles away, bypassing the city's once bustling freight ramps. Local businesses that depended on international access are left scrambling, watching as contracts and customers slip north across the border. Travelers describe the new reality in blunt terms. "There was nobody in my row," recalls one frequent flyer, "and nobody in the customs line." The airport that prided itself on being a warm gateway to the region now feels more like a checkpoint on the edge of somewhere else. Requests for international flight information have dropped by 81% as would-be visitors look elsewhere, wary of delays and the perception that Portland is no longer a reliable entry point into America. The sense of isolation is hard to ignore. Where once Portland stood as a symbol of American openness and innovation, it now faces the uncomfortable role of canary in the coal mine, a beloved regional hub left behind as airlines and travelers choose more connected, more welcoming alternatives. The exodus from PDX is not just about empty gates. It's about a city and a country watching the world move on. Further south, Phoenix tells a story of sudden reversal. The desert city once thrived on its reputation as a sun-soaked playground for both American and international visitors. Now, international arrivals have plunged by 62%, leaving airport corridors that once bustled with travelers eerily subdued. The resorts that relied on a steady influx of overseas guests from Canada and Europe are facing a new reality: empty pools, shuttered golf courses, and staff hours cut back to the bone. Tour operators who once ran packed buses to the Grand Canyon and Sedona now report barely half-filled coaches, if they run at all. The desert tourism triangle, Arizona, Utah, Nevada, has lost its luster as foreign bookings dry up, forcing some hotels to close entire wings for the first time in decades. Up the coast, Seattle faces a parallel reckoning. Passenger traffic from Asia has dropped 69%, while arrivals from Europe are down 54%. For a city built on connections to the Pacific Rim, these numbers cut deep. The tech boomtown that once celebrated its global reach now finds its hotels at just 45% occupancy. Downtown towers that used to host international conferences and trade delegations sit half empty, their lobbies echoing with the footsteps of far fewer guests. Airlines have trimmed schedules, cut frequencies, and shifted capacity elsewhere, leaving gaps in the departures board where Tokyo, Seoul, and London once beckoned. The ripple stretches beyond tourism. Local seafood exports and high-value tech shipments that once flew out daily now reroute through Vancouver or San Francisco, adding cost and uncertainty for Washington's exporters. Travelers notice the change immediately. One recent visitor described arriving at SeaTac to find the customs hall almost deserted, with no wait at all, a convenience that comes with a sense of something missing. The once crowded international terminal now feels more like a transit lounge than a gateway to the world. The city's image as a global crossroads has faded, replaced by the uneasy quiet of a hub bypassed. For both Phoenix and Seattle, the downturn isn't simply about fewer flights or empty rooms. It's about a broader loss of momentum, a sense that the world is looking elsewhere for connection, opportunity, and adventure. JFK International, once the crown jewel of American aviation, now stands at a crossroads between legacy and reality. In 2024, the airport processed 63.3 million passengers, an all-time high, just edging past its pre-pandemic peak. Nearly half of these travelers, 31.5 million, were international. Yet beneath the surface, the story is more complicated than the numbers alone suggest. The departures board glows with familiar names: London, Paris, Dubai, but the rhythm has changed. Emirates, a fixture at JFK, continues to send 3 daily A380 flights to Dubai. These double-decker giants still dominate the tarmac, each departure a reminder of the airport's global reach. British Airways, far from retreating, is adding a 9th daily flight to Heathrow for the 2026 summer. Their club suites and first cabins fill with business travelers and tourists determined to cross the Atlantic, even as headlines warn of shifting tides. For decades, JFK embodied the promise of American openness. The terminal was a stage for homecomings, reunions, and the first steps of millions seeking opportunity. Now, the faces in the arrivals hall are changing. International students and business visitors, once a reliable current, are thinning out. Visa delays, now stretching past 6 months in some countries, have left families and firms in limbo. The median wait time for a first-time U.S. visitor visa hovers at 250 days even after record processing efforts. For many, the journey ends before it begins. Airlines are watching closely. They've trimmed at the edges. British Airways dropped its Gatwick route, and Emirates once cut a 4th daily JFK flight years ago. But the core remains strong, with 80 airlines serving nearly 170 non-stop destinations. Load factors hold steady above 82%, a sign that demand, at least for now, is holding up under pressure. The airport's transformation is visible in the cranes and scaffolding rising above the terminals. The Port Authority is pouring $8.6 billion into a unified, modernized JFK, betting that the world will keep coming. But the stakes are higher than ever. Each empty seat on a transatlantic jet, each delayed visa, is a small crack in the foundation of America's gateway to the world. JFK's story is no longer just about volume or prestige. It's about what happens when a symbol of national ambition meets the new realities of global travel. The airport still hums with energy, but the question now hangs in the air. Will the world keep choosing New York? Or is the center of gravity shifting for good? Beyond America's borders, a new breed of mega-hub is rewriting the rules of global air travel. In the deserts outside Dubai, construction cranes swarm over the future site of Al Maktoum International, a project with a $35 billion price tag and ambitions that dwarf anything seen in the West. When completed, this airport will handle up to 260 million passengers a year, 5 parallel runways feeding a city within a city, with capacity greater than the entire populations of California, Texas, and Florida combined. The current Dubai International already leads the world for international passenger traffic, but this expansion aims to make Dubai the default connection point between continents, not just a stopover, but a destination in itself. Doha has moved just as aggressively. In 2025, Hamad International opened 2 new concourses, adding 17 aircraft gates and boosting its annual capacity by 40%. The result? 65 million passengers can now move through the terminal each year, with boarding times slashed and nearly 1,000 daily bus transfers eliminated. While U.S. airports struggle with aging infrastructure, Qatar's investment has delivered a seamless experience. Automated boarding, biometric checks, and expansive lounges that blur the line between airport and luxury hotel. Istanbul, too, has joined the ranks of aviation superpowers. Its airport now serves over 80 million travelers annually, with a single terminal capable of handling the entire population of Turkey in a matter of months. Turkish Airlines connects more countries from Istanbul than any other airline on Earth, turning the city into a crossroads for Europe, Asia, and Africa. The airport's design means every passenger, whether flying economy or first, passes through the same vast, light-filled space, a deliberate statement of scale and ambition. These hubs are not just physical marvels, their real advantage lies in policy and technology. In Dubai, a tourist e-visa can be approved in under 10 minutes. Doha's system is nearly as fast. For travelers from India, China, or Nigeria, the difference is night and day. A trip to America means 6 months of waiting, background checks, and paperwork. In the Gulf, it's a matter of hours. This efficiency isn't just convenience. It's a magnet for business, conferences, and high-spend tourists who refuse to wait. The numbers tell the story. Dubai's expansion alone is designed to accommodate more passengers each year than the entire U.S. international air travel market. Doha's 40% jump in gate capacity has already drawn new routes from Asia and Africa, rerouting the flow of people and goods away from traditional U.S. gateways. Istanbul's 80 million annual passengers put it ahead of nearly every American airport, with plans to reach 100 million by 2027 and 200 million within the decade. Each of these hubs is backed by national strategy, deep pockets, and a willingness to rethink what an airport can be. While American terminals echo with silence and visa lines stretch into the next season, the world's travelers are voting with their feet and their passports. The new front doors to the world are wide open, and they're not in New York, Los Angeles, or Miami. They're in cities that 20 years ago, few would have named as the future of flight. Today, they are the beating heart of global connection, pulling traffic, prestige, and influence eastward, one seamless journey at a time. Los Angeles International, long a symbol of Hollywood glamour and American openness, now carries a different reputation. International traffic has fallen 71%, leaving entire wings of the airport quiet. The festivals that once drew filmmakers and artists from around the globe are struggling to fill seats. Organizers report that overseas bookings for major events are down by half, with many regulars citing visa hurdles and high cost as reasons to stay away. The city's hotel industry, once buoyed by a steady stream of foreign guests, faces a patchwork of empty rooms and last-minute cancellations. On the opposite coast, Boston's lifeblood has always been its universities, but the city's academic pulse is weakening. Foreign student enrollment is down sharply, and the ripple is felt from lecture halls to local businesses. Hotels in Cambridge and Back Bay, which used to run at near full capacity, now sit at just 50%. Restaurant managers talk about the lunchtime lull, while landlords in student neighborhoods face the highest vacancy rates in years. The decline isn't just about lost tuition or empty dorms, it's about a city's global connections quietly fraying. Across the Pacific, Honolulu's beaches should be crowded with Japanese tourists. Instead, arrivals from Japan remain 70% below 2019 levels. The weak yen has made even a short Hawaiian holiday feel out of reach for most families. JAL and ANA, once mainstays at the airport, now operate at a fraction of their former schedules. Waikiki's shops and tour buses, built for crowds, now serve a trickle of visitors. The economic pain spreads to every corner of the islands, from hotel staff with reduced hours to small businesses that depended on Japanese regulars. The Canadian exodus is just as stark. Bookings from Canada to the U.S. have dropped by 70% as families opt for Europe, Mexico, or the Caribbean instead. Florida's beaches and Arizona's golf resorts, long favorites of Canadians, are being swapped for destinations that promise easier entry and better value. The loss isn't just measured in hotel nights or airline seats. It's a retreat from the cultural exchange, the business deals, and the academic partnerships that once defined America's role in the world. As these airports empty out, so too does a measure of the country's influence. Dallas, Fort Worth, once the logistical heart of American commerce, is feeling the weight of a global realignment. International traffic through DFW has fallen 57% from its peak, and the impact stretches far beyond empty gates. FedEx and UPS, the giants of American cargo, have begun shifting major operations to more reliable hubs outside the U.S., a silent migration of freight that once powered Texas industry. Warehouses that used to hum with overnight shipments now sit half full as goods detour through Mexico City or Toronto before reaching their final destinations. For regional manufacturers, every rerouted pallet means longer lead times and lost contracts as foreign partners turn to supply chains that no longer depend on American soil. In Miami, the fallout is even more personal. Arrivals from Latin America have collapsed by 64%, cutting off the city's lifeline to the south. 6-month waits for a U.S. visa have turned a quick getaway into a bureaucratic ordeal. Cruise lines, once the pride of Biscayne Bay, are canceling sailings or repositioning ships to ports with more predictable demand. Hotel occupancy, already battered by the loss of overseas guests, has slipped below 60% for the first time in a decade. The ripple reaches deep into neighborhoods built on tourism dollars. Restaurants, shops, and taxi fleets all report business down by a third since visa delays began. Chicago O'Hare, Houston Intercontinental, and Atlanta each tell a version of the same story. O'Hare's international arrivals are still down nearly 13% from pre-pandemic levels, with Asia routes especially slow to return. Houston faces a projected 20% drop in global visitors next year after losing nonstop flights to China and seeing Latin American demand wither. Atlanta, long the busiest airport in the world, remains 5% below its 2019 traffic, with Delta's trans-Pacific links reduced to a trickle. In Detroit, the end of direct flights to Japan and China has left the airport reliant on a shrinking pool of European routes, while local tourism has slid 17%. Washington Dulles, once a stage for diplomatic arrivals and international summits, now sees far fewer foreign delegations. Diplomatic traffic is down 65%, and the silence of its terminal speaks to a broader loss of American prestige. Where ambassadors and trade envoys once crowded the arrivals hall, there are now only the echoes of missed opportunities. The front doors to American influence, commerce, tourism, and diplomacy are closing, not with a bang, but with a slow, relentless retreat. In 2025, New York's JFK reported a 78% decline in international traffic, its sharpest drop on record. Across the country, airports from Portland to Miami saw similar collapses, with some routes vanishing entirely and major airlines shifting operations abroad. The evidence shows a clear pattern. As U.S. airports emptied, new global hubs in Dubai, Doha, and Istanbul grew by tens of millions of passengers, aided by rapid electronic visas and expanded infrastructure. The fallout reached beyond tourism, hitting U.S. universities, hotels, and even diplomatic travel. Still, not all causes are fully documented. Ongoing visa delays, shifting airline strategies, and unresolved policy debates leave questions about whether the decline is reversible. What is clear? The loss of international travelers has reshaped America's airports from symbols of global connection to quiet reminders of changing influence. For now, the documents and data reveal a nation at a crossroads. Its gateways open, but the world choosing other doors.